if you prioritize reviews, you're going to start pushing down your competition, but also just mentally pushing them down. If somebody sees like, oh, these guys have 50 reviews, everyone else has 5 or 6 or 7, it's pretty clear that you are at least one that they should reach out to, and they're probably your top in their mind. Hey, I'm Spencer Powell, and welcome back to Builder Funnel TV. This is where remodelers and custom builders tune in for business growth strategies. All right, so today I want to talk about basically the top 2 lead generation sources that we're seeing across the board for acquiring new remodeling leads and custom home leads. This is something that really we talk about a lot, but I feel like would be helpful to share externally with you guys, because we get to look at data sets from all over the country, as well as in Canada, and we can see a lot of just real data. What's happening? What are the top lead generation sources? Not just what's somebody's opinion or how does this all work. And so let's break it down. We'll talk about the top 2. There are obviously lots and lots of things that you can do to generate leads, but what are the 2 that we're seeing at the top of the list? So the first one is, no surprise, referrals and word of mouth. And so what we typically see as a few like activities that people can do to generate more referrals and word of mouth. Oftentimes it's something like a client newsletter. Often see people that stay in touch with past clients do really, really well with getting repeat projects or referrals, because you're always top of mind with those past clients. And this could be monthly or quarterly. I think monthly is great. A lot of times people think they'll be bugging, but if you're always adding some sort of value, something interesting into that newsletter, and you're not always trying to pitch, it doesn't come across as being annoying or bugging. And oftentimes those people will just forget about you, or they maybe don't know that you did a different type of service. Maybe they came to you for a bathroom and they didn't know you did additions. So it's important to stay in front of those past clients, and that will generate some more of that activity. Obviously, signage and trucks, so if you're in a neighborhood where you've done some projects with some clients and then you end up working in that neighborhood, you end up getting some of that word of mouth referral within those kind of micro pockets within your market, because people are seeing your brand and your trucks and your signs, and then they're maybe talking to their neighbors, and that's how some of that activity starts to happen. And then client events and client gifts. So these are just other ways to stay engaged with your clients, and really building those like clients for life. And so we see a lot of like ongoing education for client events. That could be like a webinar or a seminar where you're talking about home maintenance or design trends or any of those types of things. You could even, some of our higher end clients, they will actually throw like an annual, catered party, and they'll say, hey, bring your spouse, bring a friend, something like that, come hang out. And it's just a way to get all of their clients, one, in the same room and thinking about you, but also talking to either neighbors or colleagues or connections. And so that can be a great type of event. And then client gifts. So that could be something that you're just periodically saying, hey, we're thinking about you, hope you're doing well. And you can do those, once a year throughout the year, and they don't have to be huge things. But those are all things that are maybe more tactical under that bucket of how do you kind of spur more word of mouth and more referrals or repeat business. But that is one of the top 2 lead gen sources. And then the other one is Google. Now, this doesn't surprise me because we've been doing this 11 years. But I remember when we first started doing this, I was basically just begging people and trying to convince them that yes, somebody will do a Google search, they'll look for a company, and then they will sign up for a $500,000 remodel project. And back in 2010, 2011, that probably didn't happen as often. And that was probably a little more rare, but it was happening for our family business. And people were doing Google searches and they were signing big projects. But there was a lot of just disbelief that that's how people did things. Now, I think it's pretty commonplace. Most everybody agrees, hey, we all Google stuff, we all do our research there. I think there's still a little bit of pushback, but honestly, we've seen enough data across dozens and dozens of markets where, people are signing, $100,000 projects up to $1 million projects where the original source was organic search. They did a Google search, they were researching, they hit a website, and they built some trust with that company, and then they made it into the sales process, and then they eventually signed. And so really, when it comes down to improving Google and maximizing that top lead gen channel, we have a lot of other videos on SEO and content marketing, and I would recommend digging into those. But at the end of the day, we're really talking about improving your technical SEO, so search engine optimization, writing really great content, and those two go hand in hand today. So answering all the questions that people have about design, build, remodeling, or remodeling a kitchen, or design trends, or cost, or how long it takes, or the process, or all the dozens and dozens of questions that people ask, and answering that in the form of content, whether that be a blog post, a video, a page on your website. It can be all of those types of things. And that's how people go from Google search asking the question to landing on your site, then to building trust because you're the one answering the question. And then boom, now they're in your sales pipeline. And then the other one is reviews, and focusing on Google reviews, and then social reviews like on Facebook, where especially Google, I would say, is the platform to prioritize there for reviews, because that'll help you show up in the map. And then when people type in remodeling company Denver and they get 5 companies that show up in the map, if you prioritize reviews, you're going to start pushing down your competition, but also just mentally pushing them down. If somebody sees like, oh, these guys have 50 reviews, everyone else has 5 or 6 or 7, it's pretty clear that you are at least one that they should reach out to, and they're probably your top in their mind. So really, those are the 2 biggest buckets when we look at lead gen channels. Obviously, this is a big word of mouth, referral, past client driven industry, and that's how a lot of businesses have been built over the years. But more and more, Google is stepping up to the plate, and they're taking a bigger and bigger share of lead gen as we move along. And typically, the bigger your company is, you need both, right? Word of mouth referral will take you to a certain point, 1, 2, maybe even 3 million. Most likely it's 1 or 2, and then you're going to need other marketing sources to drive past those levels. And that's where we're seeing Google really help companies drive a lot of really high quality projects. You are going to get some junk mixed in, and so you just have to weed them out. But there are some great projects that are coming from that source. So as you think about your strategy over the next quarter, the next year, put those top 2 things in your mind, as well as some of the other channels that you're looking at. But that's what we're seeing, and wanted to pass that along. If you guys ever need help with marketing strategy, you know where to go. It's builderfunnel.com/blueprint. And with that, we'll see you next time here on Builder Funnel TV.